Welcome to Mystical Minds. I am your host, Girard. Today I will be reading the foreword from 95 Poetic Cues, Poetry and Prose from a Mystical Mind, written by Danny Martin Girard. This is a collection of poetry and prose that will enlighten you, take you on an emotional journey to peace, health, and happiness. The profound insights in this book will allow you to focus on your true calling, which is your spiritual evolution. Danny Girard is a writer, poet, blogger from Timmins, Ontario, Canada. He writes a blog on the website DannyGSThoughtForToday.com, where he writes inspirational quotes and poems on metaphysics and philosophy. Not only is Danny my cousin, but I personally find his work speaks to me on a spiritual level. I wasn't always spiritual, but since my truck accident on September 7th, 2018, it gave me a new outlook on life and directed me on a path to enlightenment. I am so grateful every day to be alive and here now to share my path with you. Now to begin with the foreword from 95 Poetic Cues by Danny G. Over a decade ago, I had a friend tell me that one day I would become a poet. I shrugged it off, saying I don't even read poetry, nor have I ever written poetry. To my surprise, several years later, I have written 3 poetry books. I started my blog in July 2017 at the age of 32. I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, and I wanted to focus on the right things. I struggled with mental illness ever since my teens, and writing was a therapy to focus on the solution to my problems and to be optimistic. I always found spiritual wellness soothing and beneficial to my mental health. I also realized it was critical to remain healthy physically and emotionally. Ever since I was a child, I always was shy, reserved, and I was always juggling something in my mind. Letting it go was the toughest part. My friends, peers, and one teacher in particular often told me I looked lost in my own world. This feeling of being in my own world was much more than a deficient problem. There was always a battle in my mind, seeking solace, clarity, and the answers to my problems. This battle started in my teens and lasted much of my 20s and early 30s. In my quest to seek solace, I read many books on metaphysics and philosophy. In my 20s, I started a daily ritual of meditation and affirmative prayer. After reading hundreds of books and watching thousands of videos on metaphysics, studying wasn't enough anymore, and I needed to put it into practice by writing and sharing my experiences and beliefs. When I first started writing my blog, I wrote essays, and later on I started writing poetry. The first poem I wrote was on my recovery from mental illness. It was actually an accident because I was planning on writing an essay on my recovery, and it ended up coming out as a poem. I then fell in love with the art of poetry, and I really enjoyed writing simple and profound messages that are practical to everyday life. Today, my blog consists mostly of inspirational quotes and poems. When I write, I don't try to make it fit in one category. I just write what's on my mind, and the rest reveals itself to me. I received numerous messages from people I don't know who benefited from my inspirational messages, and some who say it changed their lives. This is an outlet for me to find clarity with my thoughts. It's also an outlet to communicate my thoughts with the world and to make a difference in people's lives. Some people are born with the gift of public speaking, others are more introverted. Therefore, they never develop that skill. Others are born with the gift of writing, and that seems to be the case with me. I find purpose in what I do, and hopefully you will too. Now I would like to share a quote from Danny G. If I did as much as help myself through my writing, I did as much as help others. For we are all one in many different forms, and we are all one in many different dwelling places. Thank you, Danny G. That was amazing. Next time, I'll read the first poem from 95 Poetic Cues called Dared to Believe. With love, thank you so much for listening and have a beautiful day.